So guys, Rufai and his fellow crew members have all reacted to the latest reaction coming from the United States, where a court has mandated the FBI and the anti-drug agency to release Tinubu's drug-related records. We all know that has been in speculation for some time, but this time around, a court has mandated FIB to release all that is in their possession. The Tinubu's team has come out to, react to this, and they are saying there is nothing new that Nigerians have not seen. Anyway, Nigerians are still interested to see the list of that record. Now, moving from that, also you are going to be seeing this reaction where the United States is sending a very strong warning to the Tinubu's government after the Bishop of Benue made a presentation to a committee in the United States, citing how many churches in Benue State have shut down as a result of the Fulani herdsmen, and also many reverend fathers have been buried or kidnapped. I mean, a whole lot has been going on in Benue State, and guess what? The media does not carry any of this. Now, the bishop went to the United States to present a full detail of what they've been going through in Benue State, and as it stands now, his life is at risk. His life is at risk. He's getting all kinds of threats. And the United States is saying that they are not going to take any threat coming to that bishop. So guys, I'm going to allow you to take a look at this just for you to understand what is going on in Nigeria. Tinubu's government is a colossal failure. I mean, these people have failed. They cannot boost the economy. They can't provide employment. They can't even give people security. We're thinking that Buhari failed, but you can see that Buhari is now being worshipped. If you don't know, the camp of Atiku and Rufai went to visit Buhari, and before you know it, APC chieftain and his team also went again to visit Buhari. The man whom we all called failure is now being worshipped because Tinubu has even failed more than him. Anyway, guys, let me allow you to take a look at all these reactions and let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. Now take a look.
The presidency has reacted to the United States court ruling ordering the release of records concerning President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's alleged involvement in a drug trafficking case. Well, on April 8th, the United States Court for the District of Columbia ordered the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Drug Enforcement Administration to release records of their investigations concerning the case. The judge ruled that both agencies must search for and process non-exempt records under the Freedom of Information Act. While reacting to the judgment, presidential media aide Bayo Onanuga stated that there is nothing new to be revealed since the reports of the FBI and DEA on the case have been in the public domain for over 30 years. Well, let's take a look at Bayo Onanuga's statement. He wrote on X, "Journalists have sought the presidency's reaction to the ruling last Tuesday by a Washington, D.C. judge ordering the U.S. FBI and DEA to release reports connected with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Our response is as follows. There is nothing new to be revealed. The report by Agent Moss of the FBI and the DEA report have been in public space for more than 30 years. The reports did not indict the Nigerian leader. The lawyers are examining the ruling." I mean, Bayo Onanuga here, Rufai, saying that, the reports that we have seen, I believe we have seen some of these court documents, did not indict President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, saying that, these are not new allegations. So, I mean, why all the furore?
Okay, but the Agent Moss report also talked about, the conversations around the money in Bola Tinubu's bank account and conversations around forfeiture of $460,000, and that's what we heard. But I'll just take you back historically. Plainsight, a growing span of Plainsight, had been pushing this for a while, requiring freedom of information to be able to get most of this dossier out, to be able to read them. And it's been blocked. And the rebuttal has always been that there's that Glomar response, which pretty much says, I cannot confirm nor can I deny. And normally that Glomar response does suffice when you have a case, of secrecy that has to be involved with governmental agencies and national security, because one of the points that have been made by the CIA that, especially when it comes to human sources, the case of that Gloma report will survive. And if you go back historically, the Gloma report goes way back to the 70s, where America had this Gloma Explorer, shape that they want to use for a lot of covert activities. But as regards this, prior to this time, they had taken, with the side of the CIA and those governmental agencies, as regards that Gloma response, that, okay, you can hold, that can hold sway when it comes to FOI requests. But this district court judge, now Judge Holmer, is now saying that, no, because this man is the president of a sovereign, this should be out there in public.
Interest, yeah.
Everybody should be able to see this.
All right.
But the argument that they're still holding is the fact that this is a human resource, of the CIA. This would also, impinge on his privacy, and it will also prevent, further investigations as time goes on. And there's been a contention on the need of the public to know and privacy issues here.
All right.
The judge has also told them that they should bring back a report on the 2nd of May. So we are waiting for that report. They're going to write an extensive report on that. Most of these agencies, the drug department and all the things and all of this.
All right.
And this conversation had been on since the 90s. I think it's best for us to be able to wait on that report. The presidency has reacted and said nothing in that report. I think the position of, Kevin Moss is way different from what might be in this report. Because if they claim that it's what's in the public glare, then definitely this agency will not have gone to court to be able to stop releasing what they know as regards
All right.
it.
Let me read an excerpt made by a lawyer from the judgment, just a really short excerpt before we wrap up. They wrote, even the plaintiff acknowledges that Mr. Tinubu's name does not appear directly in these documents. Instead, plaintiff claims merely that it is implausible that no documents responsive to plaintiff's Freedom of Information Act request to the CIA exists, given that the CIA was closely following the issue and would have at least been aware of Mr. Tinubu once he became a prominent politician.
So all of that is subject to the release of the reports of these agencies. We have to wait till May 2. That's a deposition based on a lawyer's argument.
On a lawyer's argument.
So we have to, when they now report to the district judge, Holmer, they will be able to know what happened. But you see, in going forward, for the sake of integrity, we shouldn't even have rebuttals as regards preventing, reports like this. Let everything be out in the public.
All right.
Let's be able to see it so we're able to make our inferences and this matter can go away. You forget that some of even these allegations had been put forward in the court during the election petition and it didn't sail through.
Well said.
So there's also going to be a case of jurisdiction. But we need transparency across board.
Well said. We'll take another story now. Well, some positive news. Following the outcry raised by activist Martin Soshe, popularly known as Very Dark Man, who highlighted the plight of young Nigerian girls trafficked to Ivory Coast, the chairman of Air Peace Airlines, Dr. Allen Onyema, over the weekend pledged to repatriate the girls free of charge, offering free flights, medical care, and support services. In a press statement, Dr. Onyema condemned the inhumane act of trafficking young Nigerian girls globally and called for collective action, urging the Nigerian embassy in Côte d'Ivoire to identify and gather the victims for repatriation. Onyema further appealed to the federal government to take responsibility for their rehabilitation and education. I mean, this is such a laudable cause by Air Peace Airlines. I mean, this is not the first time that we are seeing that they've always come into the aid of Nigerians, be it, in Sudan, South Africa. We have seen this sort of repatriation. So kudos to them. I know that the airline plans to send the girls to Duchess International Hospital in Ikeja for free medical examinations and treatment. Let me take some tweets because obviously there was, conversation on social media as regards, especially with the responsibility of the federal government. We took this story last week. This is from Michael, who wrote, "Great initiative by Air Peace. This act of compassion and responsibility towards our trafficked girls is truly commendable. It's heartwarming to see corporate entities step up to address such a critical humanitarian issue. Thank you, Air Peace. Another user wrote, the Nigerian government should really be ashamed that a private individual is doing all this. All those politicians, all they know is embezzlement of funds. And yet some Nigerians will come out to side them and cascade VDM. Some Nigerians don't really deserve the internet. I mean, we did see this attack on Very Dark Man, who we applaud, really, because he actually went out there with his own personal funds, did the investigation, and now we have, a private entity like Epi saying that he is ready to bring the girls back. Without VDM, we will not have known the story. I mean, of course, Arise highlighted the issue as well here on the show.
I believe it's John F. Kennedy who said that it's not what my country can do for me, but what I can do for my country. I paraphrase, and I think it's beautiful to see patriots. Patriots are people who do not wait for the system to work. They are people who step forward in a time of need where they can see that there's an intervention, a change that they can make. They do it without looking for reward, without looking for favor. And so for that, to Air Peace, to Very Dark Man, they need to be congratulated and emulated as well. In our own little jurisdictions, there's a contribution that we can make, and I hope that we can. However, the fundamental issues still need to be addressed. Absolutely. There is the issue of porous borders that needs to be highlighted. When we look at these young girls who are being trafficked across the border, there's the issue of course, insecurity, poverty. This is multifaceted. And until we see the root cause of these types of scourges being addressed, we're not going to move forward. So also, as much as we have patriotic Nigerians who are ready to come and advocate and look for solutions, we also need to be patriotic enough to find lasting, sustainable solutions. Look at the vulnerability of those young girls. Can't tell how old they are, but they're certainly not teenagers based off of what I see. Mm-hmm. What becomes of their futures? Yes, they shall be rehabilitated and so forth, but we need to build a country where we're not constantly rehabilitating people from the trauma of Nigeria happening to them. Absolutely. Very, very important. Very quickly, Oji, I know you want to move on very quickly before we go. I just want to touch on transparency and how important it is for our leaders to be transparent. I think most people celebrated that this, all of the files concerning this case with the president is being published and all things are being redacted because it speaks to the issue of transparency and how important it is to accountability. Donald Trump yesterday publicized his medical report. They even showed his cholesterol levels, they showed his blood pressure, there was his white blood cell count. It was all there. And it's nothing, we've never seen anything like it before. So I love transparency, even going to that stage where if we can see our leaders' medical reports published as well, that's the level of transparency that we'd like to get.
I like that point.
Currently.
It may, you never know.
What it may?
I
personally started a chart for every presidential candidate to release their medical reports. Nobody listened. I challenge all of them again.
Well, let's go back to the story of, Air Peace. And, I'd like to just really commend the airline. Rotus, you have a quick comment.
27 million people are trafficked each year, according to the U.S. State Department, right? And which are the countries that come up? You have Afghanistan, Djibouti, Cambodia, Myanmar. If you are a parent and you guard your child, right? Mm-hmm. You're not going to let your child. There's 20 million children out of school in Nigeria. So there is a system here that has to be decentralized to the state level where we have to, look at the issues of poverty, look at the issues of, insecurity and so on that allows trafficking to happen. Kudos to Air Peace. So they're already giving him props and on
your
YouTube.
Live stream,
Shout out to the YouTube community. They're all shouting at Air Peace. Air Peace to the rescue again is what our YouTube viewers are saying.
Absolutely.
So well done to Dr. Alan Onyema.
Absolutely. Kudos to Very Dark Man, of course, as well. Very Dark Man and Dr. Alan Onyema of Air Peace. We'll take another story now. The federal government, through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, over the weekend faulted a social media post by the United States Embassy in Abuja and testimonies of Catholic priests at a U.S. congressional hearing regarding the killing of Christians in Benue State. Well, on March 12th, Catholic clerics Bishop Wilfred Anegbe and Reverend Father Ihulia testified before a U.S. committee saying that the experience of Nigerian Christians in Benue State can be summed up as that of a church under Islamist extermination. Bishop Anegbe stated that his diocese in Benue has lost about 15 parishes between 2018 and 2024, with about 140 priests kidnapped or killed and many churches destroyed by Fulani militants. The priests further criticized the Nigerian authorities for failing to stop the killings, while following their testimony, the Catholic priests alleged threats against them. In response, the U.S. mission in Nigeria, in a post on X, stated that it was disturbed by the reports of intimidation and threats against the religious leaders. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs, in a statement, described the claims as inaccurate and misrepresentative of the country's efforts in tackling insecurity. The federal government further reiterated its commitment to protecting the lives and property of all citizens, regardless of their faith or ethnicity, and pledged to investigate any reports of threats or intimidation against the religious leaders. I mean, this was a story that was circulating over the weekend. I know that the religious leaders claimed that, the Fulani militants were killing and displacing Christians. This has been going on for what? Decades now. And, they've come out, they've gone to the U.S. Congress to, state their plight. But now we're seeing the federal government saying that, it's a misrepresentation of the facts, it's an act of terrorism, and that they've been doing everything that, they can to protect the people of Benue, the Christians in Benue State.
Oji, with due respect, that was a very lame response by the federal government. Very, very lame. They said nothing. Yeah, we've been fixing insecurity. The question I want to ask the federal government is, are the hard evidences by that Catholic cleric, are they wrong?
There were hard evidences.
Hard evidence. It happened to him. He said they've lost 15 parish. Do they have any other empirical fact to the contrary? No. It's just a sweeping generalization that we're fighting against security. And you see, the federal government makes this mistake a lot. When you criticize against insecurity, they start to vituperate, they start to jakburo. It scratches them like werekwe. You see, the problem is, this report is not only talking about the Tinubu administration. It's talking about from 2018.
Correct.
So Buhari administration is also there, but they take it on because they're the government part, they don't want it. Just like how the Minister of Information had a tiff with the governor of Borno State. You can't know what's happening on ground in Borno like the governor. So please, it's best they take in the criticism and they investigate. The question is it happening? We've seen a lot of kidnapping and killing of Catholic clerics in every part of the country, including Benue. Most of these cases, Oji, are even underreported. The state of insecurity is so rampant that most of the cases are underreported. Most of them don't even get to major news networks. Take, for instance, what happened in Safe yesterday. On Saturday night was probably only reported maybe by the likes of the ones that Daily Trust are able to pick up and other media. So we must do something against the high level of insecurity. That's why people have called it ethnic cleansing.
Right.
Deliberately targeting a group of people for their land, for resource.
Right.
Which is sad, and also across religious lines.
Right.
But I don't want it to be majorly about religion, because on the flip side, we also have Muslims that are being attacked.
Yes.
As Christians are being attacked, Muslims are also being attacked. But the government should be able to introspect. Look at it. Benue used to be the breadbasket of the nation.
That's
but
it.
What is happening? The same thing happened when the former governor of Benue had to set up his own local, vigilante group to be able to fight. We covered it live at launch here.
Well, let me tie this in together. Well, let's now take a look at this poem by a young woman from Benue State, decrying the herdsmen's killings that have claimed several lives and displaced thousands. She urged the federal government to intervene and stop the killings. Here's a snippet.
The food basket of the nation is now blood basket of the nation. The land once lush with green, now hush and grim, filled with sullen faces with no hope to survive the day, like arid ground in want of rain. Pain is plain. It's daybreak. Folks are supposed to go to their farms, but farms are not the safest places to be. It's nightfall. It's heartbreak. It's heartache. over destroyed homes, destroyed crops, slaughtered brethren, bloodshed. Motherland is not the safest place to be. The land loud with violence, flooding with the blood of the young and old alike. Great sons fall like autumn leaves, dead bodies scatter like mustard seeds. Homes empty out, while IDP camps flood their ranks with the young and old, all in their ranks. Living is worse than a brutal crime. They say tough times don't last. Tell that to the people of Goma, who have watched herdsmen turn gunmen. Tell that to the people of Quran. Tell that to the people of Kwande, who have had bullets sprayed on them like rainwater, who have been changed to nothing but chicken for slaughter. Tell that to youths who this have cost them futures. Tell that to people who do nothing but levitate, have their foot in suspended mid-air, meditate on the next baba blast of a trigger or the next pointing of a finger to the voice of a brother. Bella, never know will this ever stop. Stop Benue killings. Let the lives of kinsmen cease to be pawns in the game of politics. Stop Benue killings. Let motherland be home again.
I hope that this video resonates with the security agencies, the federal government of Nigeria. I mean, this young girl's poem really touched my heart, and I thought it was important to highlight it. I mean, to stop Benue killings, stop the killings in Plateau, stop the killings in the southeast, stop the killings across Nigeria. It is really becoming a very, very worrying situation. May their souls rest in peace.
Pretty much reminds me of John Maynard Keynes. Pump a lot of money into the system, let us have activity. But we have seen to a large extent the drawback in a country like Nigeria, where you have a great level of corruption. I get your very John Maynard Keynes kind of theory. Big budget, big capital injection in a bid to restart the economy. From 54 trillion, you are saying we should go 10 times 54 trillion in 2 years.
Wow.
To have a 500 trillion budget.
Wow.
In a country where corruption will wipe up most parts, in a country where ineptitude and lack of skill will wipe us most parts, and we will have a big deficit, and we will not see the growth, excites me even more, sir. I like this excitement. Good morning and happy Holy Week.
Happy Holy Week to you too. Thank you very much for your comment, and I agree entirely that it does look ironic that this sort of proposal will come. You know, going to a budget, a national budget of 500 trillion, looks absolutely ridiculous. But just a bit of context. We've had budgets or national development plans for the last, 60, 70 odd years. And I suggest to you that none of these budgets or development plans have absolutely really worked. So what I'm calling for, but before I even say that, let me say that no one can dispute that Nigeria is well resourced. The problem is how we use it. So what I'm suggesting in order to drive this process is an entirely disruptive development plan. Again, I go back to what's happening in the US with the tariffs. You see what Trump did. But you see how Mark Carney brilliantly used the development plan to shake up the bonds market and push back Trump. You see what the Chinese are trying to do to decouple the international trading system. So I think Nigeria stands a very important opportunity to step out to see if it can make the suggested 500 trillion. Difficult, I would agree, but here are a number of things that must occur. You don't just get 500 trillion because I say so. There are some difficult issues that Nigeria must confront. Number one, political governance. There's no way Nigeria can be successful unless it decapitates its current political arrangements. The federal government must downsize. The federal government must devolve powers to the states and the local governments, so they all become economic bearing entities. The federal government must shrink. You recall the Orosanya report. I don't understand why you have the Office of the Head of Service, the Office of the SGF, and the Office of the Chief of Staff. The Office of HOS is a colonial relic. So part of my proposal in achieving the 500 trillion budget is to absolutely reduce government. If America has 16 departments, Nigeria should not have more than 10. So that's the first thing, because in order to create wealth, you must also shrink. The context of our large, over-bloated federal public service of 3 million people consuming 70 to 80% of the public revenue must go. So that's one. Two is that in economic governance, I hope you're aware that the oil companies are richer than Nigeria. Nigeria is one of the few countries in the world that outsources its oil capacity to international oil companies. My proposal is to do what the Saudi Arabians do and use simply service contracts. We have to own everything so that 80 to 90% of the wealth generated from oil stays here. Right now, nothing stays, less than 10%. So in this way, you begin to close the leaking gaps and create the opportunity for resources to stay in the country. So in that way, money begins to drive up. Look at what has happened with the tax reform process. It's been effective. When we were talking about a 9 trillion naira economy, a lot of people said it's not possible. At that time, it was 2. But when Zach came, FIRS, I had a chat with him, we've gone from 9 trillion to 50 trillion. And I understand that with the reforms coming from tax reform, we're going to hit 100 trillion. So it is possible. It's just the will to get things done in a different way.
All right. So I'll come in at this stage. I'm glad you've highlighted some of the key elements in your report. I thoroughly enjoyed reading it, especially in that some of your recommendations, we should move at Trump-like speed, I believe was one of your recommendations. Number 2, as you've mentioned Orosaya report, but you also says we should create something like Doge, the one headed by Elon Musk in the United States, that's what we need to do here locally.
Sure.
But I actually want to focus on oil. Because I understand your point. You're saying 85 trillion naira can be realized from us moving from contract oil to development oil, as you call it in your paper. But the NUPRC has just said that Nigeria only has 64 years worth of oil left. And we know that a large percentage of that is already consumed by forward sales. So is it still prudent for us to be including, to be this bullish about our projections about oil revenue, especially in the short term, when we know the framework around oil at the moment? We simply don't have the oil.
Yeah, I agree with you entirely. But that is speaking about the need to diversify the economy. And there are lots of things that can be done.
Yeah, Dr. Bakura, you're saying a lot of things can be done, but you haven't elaborated on any of them. You haven't even mentioned power. Your economy cannot grow without a major overhaul of the electricity sector here in Nigeria. And plus, you haven't even mentioned what the central bank reserves would be, what inflation would be, what the minimum wage would be with a 500 trillion naira budget. There are just so many details that have been left out there that don't really give us a full picture.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. But I'm not an economist.
But you wrote the reports. But you wrote the reports. But you wrote the reports.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you're admitting you don't have the expertise to be talking about this. Is that what you're saying?
I didn't say that. I'm just saying that I've looked at the legal fundamentals, and in order for us to move forward, nobody can deny that we have the resources. Nobody can deny that fact. Now, nobody can also deny the fact that we are a country that we produce nothing, next to zero. And in my report, I mentioned the need to up the productive capacity of Nigerians. In order to do that, there are certain assumptions. I'm surprised you're mentioning electricity. Of course, that will be part of the assumption that if we have to grow our economy, we have to look at the soft institutions that will support it.
So where do you get the money to fix the electricity?
On the issue of...
Okay, where do you get the money to fix the electricity sector? We owe about 2-point-something trillion to the discos. I will tell you. Between now and 2027, yes. Where do you get the money from? Yes. Where's the money coming from?
Where you get the money is that government should focus on policy, regulatory, and those frameworks. Government has no business being in business. Right now, government determines the price of oil. Government determines how the electricity company works. I say that government should get out of everything to do with business and allow the private sector to drive it.
Okay, thank you so much.
The private sector should be the drivers of the economy.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Agbakuba. You know, the economists have a saying, ceteris paribus, all things being equal. And the good thing is this report is just an assumption. I mean, we'll look how it goes.
So guys, you've heard everything that happened in this video, you know, from the United States saying they cannot cover Tinubu's sin anymore. They want to make everything bare because no doubt there must be something that the FBI is hiding. You know, then they promised they were going to release this document. They won't release it at once. They'll be releasing it gradually. But it got to a point. The Tinubu's lawyers did not go to sleep. They kept pressurizing until finally they were able to get court judgment that mandates the FBI to stop releasing those documents. And now the court has made a U-turn saying the FBI must release those documents. So what do you think about all this? Don't you think something fishy must be going on? They are trying to hide some information about Tinubu. Although the Tinubu's camp has come out to react saying there's nothing new, it's everything Nigerians know that is still there. But even if it's everything that we already know that is still there, don't it sound somehow to these APC members? Can you imagine? These people just show that they are pure criminals, because if such a thing does not even touch them, they are telling Nigerians, what else you want to see is all the things you already know that you are going to be seeing. How do they even feel coming to the public to make such statements that your boss was a drug dealer and now the United States is saying they want to expose everything at their disposal, and you are telling us that Nigerians already know? You are feeling proud in such a criminal act. So guys, a whole lot is happening when you see the way these people come out to defend Tinubu, and you just find out that you cannot defend Tinubu without messing yourself up. You know, Bola Daniel is a lawyer, a known lawyer, let me say a renowned lawyer who is well read. He's now the one coming to defend Tinubu's criminality. Can you imagine that? Honestly, sometimes the way these representatives try to speak, you just be wondering if they have their conscience. So away from that, now look at the security problem. Benue State has buried its people a lot, and I think, does it mean nobody can dare the Fulanis? Does it mean nobody can talk to the Fulanis? Does it mean no tribe in Nigeria can fight the Fulanis? Does it mean nobody can stop their menace? You know, and the worst part is that they connive with the law enforcing agencies, because we've been told that when the people rise against the Fulanis, they will be arrested. But when the Fulanis are killing the people, nobody's arrested. You see all these calamities that have happened in Plateau, Benue, possibly nobody has been arrested. And even if they arrest, it's just to make a public show. Those people will be released. All the people they arrested before now, where are they? They've all been released. So a whole lot is going on in Nigeria when it comes to insecurity. Is there that political will to allow Nigeria to experience peace? All they know is to go to the southeast. Like people have been lamenting, saying Tinubu should withdraw the military in Rivers State and in the southeast and send them back to the north, because the governor of Borno State came out crying that he's almost losing his state to the hands of terrorists because they have limited manpower. And Ndume came out to confirm that they have limited manpower. Guess what? The people came after Ndume, saying Ndume is not supposed to say that publicly. He's leaking secret to the Boko Haram people that Nigeria does not have enough manpower. So guys, if these people don't really want us to be going this back and forth, they should really be serious about fighting insecurity. Does it mean they don't know these communities that have been sacked? Can they go there and sack those people and bring back the original owners and tell those people to leave Nigeria? Why should we just remain in this kind of situation all this while, as if we cannot come up with a solution? So now moving to Ivory Coast and what happened. So it is just that Nigeria happened to these little children. So Nigeria is no more happening to the youths or adults. It's happening to everybody. Even children who were 10 years were found in Cote d'Ivoire. People are exploiting them, taking them out there and destroying their life at that early age. So you can imagine what that means. Some of them were picked up from, on their way to school or on their way going home from school. They were picked up, they didn't know where they were again until they found themselves where they were taken to. So a whole lot is going on in Nigeria, and we are really thankful to Alan Oyema, who has offered to bring them back and also help in their health related bills. Now the Tinubu's government has to wake up and know that the situation in Nigeria is subjecting people to all kinds of lifestyle, even what people never expected they would do. Today they are doing it so that they can survive. This government has to sit up and do the needful, because Nigerians have taken enough. They shouldn't wait for another EndSARS to happen in Nigeria before they will know that Nigerians are really serious. Because the way things are going in this country, I tell you, Nigerians can no longer bear. They are really being pushed against the wall, and this is happening on a daily note. Anyway, let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell. Please give this video a like so that YouTube can recommend it to others, and drop your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you.